Hello, interwebs, and welcome to Close-Up. I'm your host, Joe.
And I'm Justin.
We got Project Hail Mary for you. Full spoilers today. Based on the book, it's the movie. It's the movie we're talking about, to be clear.
Based on the book, yes.
Yes. And what is your background on Project Hail Mary? You read the book.
Yeah, I read the book. I really liked the book. Actually, I read the same author's first book, or not his first book. The first really popular one, The Martian.
The Martian, yeah.
I read that one. I watched the movie. Then I read Project Hail Mary. And now I've watched the movie for this one. And I'm going to go on and read one of his other books now.
Okay. I watched The Martian and I watched Project Hail Mary. I haven't read the books, but I kind of want to go back and read the books because I love The Martian and I love Project Hail Mary as well. Both great. I'm muting my phone. Sometimes we make mistakes. So, yeah, Project Hail Mary, getting into our close-up. I was pretty surprised to find how broadly appealing a film this is. For basically everything you could want in there as a moviegoer. You got your drama, you got your comedy, you had well-balanced character stakes and world-ending stakes, a lot of great practical effects work, and just whether you know it's CGI or practical effects, it's just visually spectacular. I don't know very many people who could dislike something about this movie in its entirety. There's a little something in there for everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Did you know that Rocky was a practical puppet?
Yes, I was looking up some facts about the movie before we started recording. He was an animatronic. And
yeah, he's like half animatronic and half puppetry.
Yeah,
like,
it took like 5.
And then with like Jurassic Park style CGI over.
I think they had to use CGI on, I believe they said some like when he's rolling around in the ball.
Yes.
For example. But most of it is a practical puppetry. It took 5 puppeteers, I believe they said. And it was apparently the actor who voiced Rocky, James Ortiz, didn't even know he was going to be the voice for Rocky. They thought, oh, well, I'm just kind of doing this voice so Ryan Gosling has something to act off of in the moment. But then Phil Lord and Chris Miller said, oh, no, we liked yours the best. It's not going to be, nobody else is going to top it.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, so he was just kind of the fill-in voice.
He was the stand-in, and then they're like, no, that was good.
And he was the puppeteer as well. He was the primary puppeteer and did the voice on set for it. And he was kind of the resident Rocky expert. And yeah, I mean, I think it's very impressive because the way I see it, if Ryan Gosling's performance didn't work, this movie would fall apart completely. So the fact that Ryan Gosling basically carries this film as a single human character makes the film really good. But what they did with Rocky made it great.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the animatronic worked to that degree. I was even reading about it where, like the scene where he's trying to teach him numbers and hands him the tape. Apparently that's all real too. They just said, hey, puppeteers, you guys just do anything with the tape except what the character Grace would want. So when it gets all tangled up like that, that's just the puppeteers messing around. Apparently also the scenes where it's replicating Grace's body language, they just told Ryan Gosling to improvise whatever, kind of like when he's dancing, and they just said, all right, puppeteers, you just copy his movements. So that was all kind of improvised on set. They were just, all right, Ryan Gosling does a thing and the puppeteer's following him. And
that's interesting.
It's real action and reaction stuff happening, making a very realistic feeling dynamic that I don't think CGI could have been able to capture in the same way.
No, yeah.
They were also very committed to their practical effects in terms of, well, basically everything. They had real sets for the Hail Mary, and most of the effect shots in space were model works. The spaceships were models, and I was pretty shocked to see how much practical effects were in this movie, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And all very immersive. And personally, it makes all the difference because I could tell watching the movie that these were models. Just something in my brain said, this is not computer work. I can tell this is a model because it's something more tangible about it.
Well, I got so invested in the movie that I didn't even, most of the time when it's very obviously CGI, or it's like, when it's CGI, it sort of pulls you out a little bit. And this one didn't do that. It felt real most of the time.
Yeah, I didn't really question Rocky's effect at the time. I didn't question whether that was CGI or a puppet as I watched it, but the spaceships, I'm like, something about this feels different to most space movies. What is it? Oh, I think that's a model. It feels real. Feels more tangible. The motions in camera felt more believable in a way. And yeah, they went very hard on this movie from a production standpoint. And I thoroughly appreciate that. I just love the whole visual style of this movie. From, every set's got a unique character. I like the fact that the Hail Mary, it's a total mess. He's to the point where he's anxious about it. Oh, I wasn't expecting guests, and everything's a mess on the ship. And it's all the different rooms of the vessel, even to the carrier, the aircraft carrier on Earth, and that that's got a vibe to it as well. Or Rocky's ship in the tunnel has a totally different vibe. The costumes, the spacesuits. I love his red spacesuit. I can see that being pretty instantly iconic. The designs for Rocky's ship, the Hail Mary itself, I can see those being like Lego models people will want to buy. The colors, the planets, the colors are eye-poppingly gorgeous. Specifically, I'm thinking of that scene where he had to go take a spacewalk to capture bits of the astrophage, or the virus that was hunting it, and he's just blasted by all the purples and reds on top of the ship, and it's just beautiful, and Rocky can't see it, but just the colors are just dazzling. So just everything about this movie visually. This is I believe it was Greg Fraser who did the cinematography. Yeah. He did the Dune movies as well, which I'm thinking I might have a new favorite cinematographer from the last decade, because I've been on record as saying some of the Dune movies are two of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. And Project Hail Mary is definitely up there as well off of first viewing. So I think this guy just does great work as a cinematographer. Greg Fraser knows how to make a movie look great. Love the dramatic lighting in there as well. Lots of harsh shadows. And I think of the scenes in the tunnel where the light from his helmet is just it's very harsh and dark shadows, and creates this atmosphere.
Well, I think that's also trying to, they did a lot of work to make sure that it was space felt sort of accurate. Everything's quiet in space, and also light doesn't diffuse when there's no oxygen, so it doesn't carry the same way that we're used to. So in the tunnel with no oxygen and no atmosphere or anything, the light's not going to carry the same way and light up the tunnel very well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just looking at some of Greg Fraser's other credits. Apparently he did Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, some episodes of The Mandalorian, the Dune movies, The Batman, The Creator. So some of basically all the most gorgeous looking movies I've seen in the last 10 years with this guy.
That's impressive.
Yeah. He's a very good cinematographer. So let's see. I also like some of the special effects work as well. Even just the zero gravity flipping around was very impressive. As I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh, I don't, can't see any wires on this. Is the whole room moving? That's just very impressive the little zero gravity bits
Mm.
in there. It's the subtle things. You see a lot of movies with it, but it just looked extra good here. Yeah, what?
So, what did you think of like how well did you follow the story from like start to end?
I found it was pretty straightforward. Earth is in trouble because bacteria is eating the sun. Okay, we figured out one sun's not getting eaten. Send the Hail Mary up there. Oops, scientists are dead. What are we going to do? Oh, okay, need to get a alien rock friend to help us figure out how to do it. Send the information back.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that
It was pretty, I think for general audiences, most people aren't going to have too hard a time. They might have some issues with, like I remember Way said, and partially language barrier, but some of the techno babble kind of went over her head. But it was like the plot wasn't an issue.
Yeah, I was worried because I thought like having the knowledge of the book, I was like they kind of glossed over they did it, but I don't think it was made clear that this was obvious, like the whole Petrova line thing, which it was very unique how they introduced it, where they're like, okay, here you go, it's him explaining it to his class of students.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was like, if most people watching would like clue in that that's really important.
Yeah.
Because like if you don't catch that at the beginning of the movie, the rest of the movie's not really gonna make sense.
Okay, so from my experience during that scene, I was making notes. I was kind of like leaned over the side of the chair and I was writing notes in my notebook about my review. So I was kind of listening to it. I didn't really catch his visual demonstration, but I kind of pieced it together afterwards before the end of the first act. I kind of, okay, well, kind of what I heard through context clues, I figured it out. But I did turn away at a pretty key moment.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things I noticed, was that it was like, okay, the key moments to explain the science and explain what's going on in the movie seem to fall into the background a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't pop out as key moments as much as I would have expected. But I guess the story makes sense enough without it.
So to my understanding, Andy Weir is known for writing hard science fiction, fairly realistic depictions of sci-fi scenarios. And The Martian movie had a lot more of that front and center.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Damon's Mark Watney had a lot more step-by-step trying to figure this all out. Whereas this one leaned more towards the emotional core of loneliness in space and teamwork, and it leaned harder on the more, as I said up top, broadly appealing subjects that wouldn't necessarily put people off who are like, sci-fi techno babble thing that's gonna go over my head. Like, no, you can get it. If you're here for the science fiction, it is there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's gonna put off general watchers who just want a heartwarming story about this camaraderie in the far reaches of space.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the major differences between the movie and the book is like the movie focused more on that emotional core, where the book it was similar but a bit
More
different.
clinical.
Yeah, like there was a lot more technical stuff and things were slowed down a lot. Like in the book, Rocky didn't come in to the picture for like halfway through the book, maybe.
Yeah. And I think that was a big part of the marketing for this movie is you were pretty surprised that they revealed Rocky so early on in the trailer as a book fan.
Yeah, because it was kind of a surprise that it was like, oh, okay, especially you take something like The Martian.
Mm-hmm.
If you're coming from his previous works and you go into this, an alien showing up does not seem to fit. And you're like, what the heck? And it's like halfway through the book, there's an alien shows up and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. And from my perspective, I only saw the trailer as my only context for this movie. So I saw, all right, world's ending and he has to team up with an alien to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that was basically the premise and not something that happened a long way in.
Yeah, that's why when, like, I thought the trailer revealed a lot, but I guess it didn't because the movie sort of, I would say it condensed the first half of the book into like 20 minutes.
I see. And based on what you were telling me from the book, it took liberties in that it spread out the backstory elements, the flashbacks throughout.
Not really.
No?
That's kind of how the book piecemealed his stuff too. It's just the beginning where he was like confused in the medical lab.
Okay.
Was a very long portion where the robot wouldn't let him leave that room until he could say his name, till he could remember his name.
I see.
Where this, they just kind of, like, he got out of it really, really fast. But yeah, they sort of, it was sort of piece by piece throughout, which was pretty much the same in the movie. But I was worried that people might not realize that that's his memories coming back.
Okay, I didn't necessarily realize that either. Even though now that you say that, he clearly didn't have everything pieced together in the movie either. Like throughout it, he was still figuring things out. So when you say that, it makes sense now. That's not really how I saw it at the time. Except for maybe a couple of scenes where it was obvious he was thinking about it. I saw them more as a traditional flashback kind of thing. Where
like the beginning was more clear about it, but
less of an I'm just re-remembering this now and more of a I'm thinking back on this.
Yeah, and that was something that I was like, there was one, I can't remember which one it was, that I was like, if you thought that this was him having a flashback, it would make him seem kind of stupid that he didn't remember this earlier. Like maybe it was the one where he's like, oh yeah, I was not willing to go on this mission. Huh.
Yeah, they
like, oh, you didn't remember that? And it's supposed to, but it's like, yes, he's only realizing this now, he's getting his memory back and he's like, oh.
Yeah. Which I thought was a good twist. Didn't necessarily see that coming, but at the same time it's it's got the makings of a good twist in that it was a surprise, but also felt like, well, of course, how could it be any other way? Based on the information I knew already about him. He did not seem the type to sacrifice himself on a one-way mission.
No. Yeah.
He's not the brave or heroic kind of person. Except in the end, he does become that way. He's willing to put himself on the line for Rocky, now that he has someone he cares about. Before, he was really just trying to prove a point. The way they sucked him in the first place was just, hey, you're one of the few guys who says that maybe life could have evolved not as a carbon-based life, and everyone said you were crazy for that, so here's your chance to prove a point.
Yeah, he was smarter than what he was doing. He was, teaching middle school kids science, but
which I totally related to because I always say that too. Every time I hear people in science talk about, oh, well, there could be life on this planet because it's about the same distance as our sun. It's in that Goldilocks zone for life and it could support carbon-based life. I'm like, why do we assume that carbon-based life is the only life out there? That's frustrated me for years. So glad to see it acknowledged. I didn't realize it was a hot take in the science community, but
yeah, it was enough that like his paper on it, his thing that he did on it got him kind of excluded from the scientific community.
Yeah. Well, actually, it wasn't that his paper was a crackpot theory. It's that he badmouthed his superior about it at a big conference.
Yeah.
He made a fool of himself, not because of his theory, but because of his stubbornness.
Yeah, he was too stubborn with it, and then
publicly.
But yeah, so he was kind of taking his they offer him the carrot, and he's like, yes, I can do that. Let me do it.
And then he did it a little too well.
Yeah.
To the point where, oh, well, now that that scientist is dead, you're the only other guy who knows what he's doing. So, you.
And I like, that was one of my favorite parts, is that it's like, okay, why did this building explode? Oh, because we're dealing with measurements that are so small that it's, if you use, it's, I forget what it is. It's like, oh, nanometers or millimeters. And it's like, well, there's a big difference between nanometers and millimeters, or,
Yeah, somebody
it was
messed
a
the measurement
whole,
up.
they're working with so much of, it's like, okay, on a small scale, yeah, you could make a little explosion. But if you've got the wrong measurement entirely that was given to you, you blow up the whole facility.
And everyone in it. Yep. I did think it was pretty cool how they could use that stuff as fuel, though.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's one part I didn't catch, was how they caught samples of that stuff and could bring it back to Earth. I don't remember how they got that far in the first place.
I think they sent a small probe out to the Petrova line.
Okay.
And they only had a very, very limited amount of samples. That's why she was very upset that he killed one of the samples.
But then he figured out how to replicate it.
Yeah. And then that's when it was like, oh, okay. Which was something else they kind of skimmed over, was that they were working really hard to figure out how they can replicate this on such a scale to manage to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Which was also a worry. And that point never came up in the movie at all, I don't think.
Okay.
That it was actually difficult for humanity to create the amount of fuel that they were using on their last little chance.
No, that part was definitely cut out. It was, hey, we figured out how to replicate this, and then we skip forward to the point where there's enough for a spaceship for a one-way trip. And then I guess Rocky's people figured out how to get it the same way, because that was their fuel too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so another technical aspect, I love the music in this movie. I thought it was a great way of, definitely evoked in me a sense of curiosity, wonder, and adventure. Very classic sci-fi feeling kind of thing that I could see being in a more, one of those high octane 1960s space adventure stuff. It just felt like, hey, space is fun and positive, which I haven't seen in a while in a big way. Because most media is just like, oh, we got to take something that could be fun and make it as dark and depressing as possible. This felt like, hey, we're getting like optimism about science and space, which I appreciate. But at the same time, I also enjoyed how this movie used silence. I think they used silence excellently to punctuate tension. There's a lot of long stretches where it's eerily quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the music worked very well, the sound design, but also just the silence at perfect times as well. So as far as criticisms go, I think my only real gripe with this movie is its basically its runtime. And it's not even because it was poorly paced or like it was fine. It went pretty well. I just, by the end, not that I'm checking my watch, but it just felt like, okay, it's long, but it all felt necessary. It's weird because it didn't feel the same as it usually feels when movies are too long, where I'm like, oh yeah, that movie was 20 minutes too long. It's just, okay, I've been sitting down for a while. I'm not bored, but I'm just...
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't really get that feeling at all, that it was too long or anything.
No, it's just because I was sitting down for a while, and there's just a lot in here. So it's kind of weird. It's not like, it wasn't dragging, but it felt long at the same time. I don't know how else to describe that. But
it felt like the length that it actually was.
Yes, that's a good way to describe what I'm trying to get at.
Didn't feel like a breezy movie, but it felt like a movie that was exactly how long it was.
It didn't feel like it's 2 hours, 40 minits, but felt like 3 hours either.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like, wow, 2 hours and 40 minutes went by like that. Like, yeah, you're right. It felt like it was.
Mm.
And I think it also is because it's a very deliberately paced movie. It's not high octane action, trying to, adrenaline shock you awake every 5 minutes. It's okay, most of this movie is just Ryan Gosling and a talking rock alien trying to figure some things out together. And for a movie of this type, it's very less action heavy than you might expect.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, well, it's 2 hours, 40 minutes of mostly just conversations in space with some tension and whatnot to punctuate it. So it's not like, once again, it's not boring by any stretch. I'm pretty locked in, but it's not like, wow, there's my action scene every 10 minutes to make it feel faster. So I think that's part of what contributes to it. It's just the type of movie that it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's more contemplative and low-key for most of it. And that's the only thing I can say. And you can tell I'm even stretching to make it into a point.
Criticism.
I'm stretching to make it into a point, but that's really the worst thing I can say about it is it felt the length it was. Ooh.
I think it was like, as somebody who read the book and enjoyed the book a lot, I really liked the movie. I think it worked well as like a companion to the book. I think it loses some elements, but obviously transitioning into a movie, you kind of have to. Otherwise, it would be way too bloated. But I think, personally, I still think reading the book first and then going to see the movie would be the ideal experience. But as for an adaptation, they did a pretty good job. It's pretty faithful to the book. It's just some elements got trimmed here and there. And
so I'm glad that this movie works from both ends. It works for you as a book reader who says, that was pretty good for an adaptation. And it works for me as just a film goer, and it makes me say, hey, I kind of want to read the book now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that rare movie that works from both sides.
Yeah.
And kind of makes you want to appreciate the other end of it. Yeah, I also like the tone of the film as well. It's, like I said earlier, there's a bit of everything in there for people. It's, you got your world-ending stakes and, ooh, if this goes bad, it could go very wrong, which leads to pretty high tension action scenes where, he's on the side of the ship and trying to get that bacteria they had a one shot at. All right, so there's scenes like that. And then there's scenes like when Rocky's dying and he's breaking down crying and he's trying to watch over his friend because the species watches over each other when they sleep. And so there's really touching moments like that. And then there's hilarious banter between Grace and Rocky as well. A lot of it's just there. Like that one scene where he's talking very quietly into his camera logs because Rocky hears everything he's saying and Rocky can still hear him. And they're just kind of adorable together and very endearing, immediately iconic duo. So there's a little bit of everything you could want. I didn't feel like it veered too hard in any direction. I think most people can watch this movie and find something to enjoy.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good for just about anybody.
Yeah, and it's very rare you get a movie this broadly appealing that's actually very well made at the same time. It's not a lowbrow movie, but it doesn't feel too artsy to be off-putting. It's like the perfect balance for most people just looking for good entertainment and something to take away if you're inclined to.
Now, I don't think it's necessarily a movie you can turn your brain off and watch.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not, there is thematic stuff you need to pay attention to here.
Like, I think if you're not mostly paying attention, I think you probably won't follow the story that well.
Yeah.
Like, you're not just missing the thematic depths, you're missing the story, because the story is, there's so little action that the story is told in the dialogue and
Yeah.
what's going on.
Let's rephrase then. If you're going into this movie open to the experiences it will give you, you'll probably have a really good time. If you're coming in with like, you know, fully fire my dopamine every 5 seconds, it's not that kind of movie. Sorry. But if you're just watching a movie with middle of the road expectations and saying, yeah, just, you know, give me something good. Hard to find complaints in it. Unless you're coming in with completely the wrong expectation of what it is basically the only way you're gonna...
It's a sci-fi movie. I know what a sci-fi movie is. No. It's a hard sci-fi movie.
Yeah. It's a hard sci-fi movie where Ryan Gosling's really the only human character and you're, you know, not that much action. It's more science-based. But that's not the focus. Like, it's very well made, but it's not, what's the arrogant about it? What's the word I'm looking for? It's not
Snobbish. Yeah.
But like, it could easily win Oscars. I can see this being a Best Picture nominee next year, but it's not.
It won't win.
It could, but
Well,
I can see it being the kind of movie that breaks that barrier.
Maybe.
You know?
Maybe, because it's got that general appeal.
That's what I mean. It can work for the Oscar crowd and the general entertainment crowd at the same time.
It just doesn't feel like a movie that's like baiting for the Oscars. Like, you can't even, I couldn't place exactly what it would win for Oscars, because it's not.
I think Ryan Gosling should be nominated. I think their production design and cinematography should be nominated, as well as the score was incredible as well. I don't really know where puppeteering would fall under, but
Effects work, probably.
special effects work should probably be nominated as well. Like, I can see it. Like, the costumes were great too. There's like 6 things I could easily see it being nominated for.
But that's the thing, is it doesn't feel like you know, somebody behind the scenes was really pushing for it. It doesn't feel like it's pushing for Oscar worthy stuff.
No, it's just trying to be good.
It's just good on its own. It just is.
Yeah, and if it's not going to win Oscars next year, it's going to be the kind of movie where people remember it more from 2026 than whatever was.
It got snubbed.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those that gets snubbed or probably fairly rewarded later. But I think people are going to remember this one. When they look back at 2020 cinema, they'll say, yeah, Project Hail Mary, that one was really good.
Is it doing good in the box office numbers?
I don't know how the box office is doing, but it's getting very good word of mouth. So if opening weekend was a little slow, I definitely predict it'll get up next week. People really seem to be enjoying it in general. And I think the box office will reflect that soon.
See, to me, the only comparison I have for this would be like...
Oh, okay. Sorry, it's the record for the biggest opening of 2026 so far.
Oh, well, there you go.
At 80 million domestically and 140.9 million worldwide.
Yeah.
So that's very good for a post-COVID box office. And a non-IP movie. I think that's also very important to mention, is it's just an adaptation based on a book. It's not Marvel, it's not Star Wars, it's not
anything.
It's not a brand people know.
No.
It's like people like Phil Lord and Chris Miller. I'm a fan of their work. People really like Ryan Gosling, and that's the only thing you really know going in. It's a sci-fi movie by Phil Lord, Chris Miller, and Ryan Gosling. And Andy Weir, if you're a book fan.
Well, some people, like, they used in the marketing, it's like, oh, by the makers of The Martian.
Which definitely sold me as well, because I love that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, I like the people involved, and it was the same guy who wrote The Martian? Okay, yeah, sure.
But, so the only comparison I could really think of between this movie and something else is like Three Body Problem. It's a very similar, it's hard sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Netflix adapted it into a show. For Netflix to make it for general audiences, it's butchered so badly into it's barely recognizable from the book.
Mm-hmm.
So, And for it being a very similar for that hard sci-fi, I'm glad that they were like, you know what? We're just trimming some of the fat, and you got a solid adaptation versus the Netflix version of butchering it to pieces, and it's like, I guess that's the same thing. So there's two ways that hard sci-fi can be done. There's people who enjoy hard sci-fi, but they're making it more palatable for general audiences, and then there's people who are like, hard sci-fi, we'll fix this, and it's not good.
Yeah.
That's why I'm really glad this one turned out really good, actually.
Yeah. So, any other points in mind right now? Yeah, just some sporadic thoughts. I like how seriously he took first contact with an alien species. How he was going through basically all the protocols and kind of freaking out of like, ooh, yeah, this is actually a pretty weighty responsibility. I got to make sure I'm not going to make the whole human race look bad immediately. He's trying to be very careful about how he's received. Even just knocking on the glass and is like, I don't know if I should be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Or what's in that capsule that he's throwing me. What am I sending back? How do I communicate properly? Like, oh, this thing's not really understanding me. How can I get it to understand me? I love the communication, trying to, totally different languages and trying to make communication work. That's the whole plot of Arrival, which is also a great movie. And I think you should see that if you haven't seen Arrival.
I think I have seen it.
You haven't seen, yeah, that's the one with
They're trying to,
Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and I think Denis Villeneuve directed it.
yeah, and they're trying to communicate with the aliens or
yeah,
whatever.
the whole thing is just they're trying to figure out how to talk to the aliens, and that's the whole movie. So I'm like, oh yeah, there's bits of Arrival in there too, and that's kind of, I'd argue that's hard sci-fi as well because the whole thing is more of a linguistics movie.
I guess it's sort of leaning toward, yeah.
The fact that their aliens didn't, that was really the most fantastical part of Arrival. The whole thing is more like, how do we communicate with a species we can't find common ground with?
Mm-hmm.
And that went pretty well here. I like that he just has to go one word at a time. And I think it also helped that maybe perhaps too conveniently, Rocky is a very smart species that once he figured it out, he didn't really have to repeat himself.
Mm-hmm.
Rocky understood him a lot better than Grace understood Rocky.
Yeah, and they definitely accelerated the process, but
It was largely a one-way road.
Basically, it was Grace trying to understand Rocky, but Rocky was able to understand a lot faster Grace, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, lucky you. You found a very smart alien.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little convenient, but fine, I'll look over it because I enjoy. Yeah, so another little note, I love that scene where they're talking about Rocky's mate. And after they've been binge watching Rocky movies, he's like, oh, so what should a good human name for my mate be? And he said Adrian, which took me like 2 seconds to click in. I'm like, Adrian, yeah. Oh, okay, because they were binge watching Rocky, and all right, now I get it.
Then they named the exoplanet after Adrian too.
Yep. Very nice Rocky homage there. And another little note about the costumes. I loved seeing the t-shirts with the science puns on them. Those came up multiple times. Very subtle, but great visual comedy. We didn't really get too deep into the themes on this, but you know, I think we kind of covered the basics. Yeah. It's about teamwork and finding and loneliness, and yeah, just finding your people, being brave for them once you finally care about somebody. Save your people. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Well, even something as simple as him going back for Rocky, because I mean, one of the core reasons I think is he went to Rocky because Rocky, you know, Grace has nobody. Rocky has a mate.
Yep.
Rocky has somebody who's waiting for him to come back, and Grace really didn't.
Grace just needed to get the information sent off, and that was it.
So,
and he was kind of expecting it to be a one-way trip anyway. I mean, he made peace with it, and then he lied about making peace with it, and then he actually did when Rocky was on the line.
Yeah. No, I think that's sort of a big thing, is like that's what he learned, is sort of self-sacrifice, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, self-sacrifice.
Which we know he didn't have at the beginning, but in the end he does.
Yeah. He was just doing it partially out of curiosity and partially because he was forced to, but now he's like got a reason to care. So, yeah, feel good movie. Like the resolution. It did break my heart in the last act there when it was like, oh no, he found out that they ate xenonite and Rocky's whole ship's made of xenonite. Oh no, what's going to happen to Rocky? Are we going to have a dark ending? What'll happen? And then it ended very nicely. So, yeah.
That was one part that Wei was really confused about, was she was like, I don't understand what that was all about.
That's the technobabble part.
Where it's like, okay, the idea is that it's like, okay, they were raised and evolved in the breeding chamber made of xenonite. Well, the breeding process, they learned to escape through xenonite, so they can walk right through the other ship that's entirely made of xenonite.
And you had to have been paying attention that the fact that it's solid xenonite was a kind of a weird trigger in Grace's mind to start, and the whole ship and everything they do is based around this element.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. There's some stuff that makes that a little bit hard to understand, but for the most part, like, she got it, that it's like, okay, well, he's obviously realizing that something's wrong with the other ship. Okay, he's going over there.
Yeah, even technobabble aside, the movie did things in a way where you get what's happening. So all the slow people can follow if you don't care about the sci-fi part.
Grace's ship alarms go off. Oh my god, they're leaking in the compartment. Okay, we gotta clean. Okay, what happened to Rocky? There you go. You don't have to know the technobabble.
Same thing, but worse.
Yeah.
All right, so any final thoughts?
No. I liked it. It was very good.
Ranking.
I'm not even gonna hesitate. I'm giving it a thumbs up for sure.
I'm saying must see. Which I can't remember the last time I gave that on close-up. It's been a while. Yeah.
It's very good. It's just very good. It's a really good movie.
Easy recommend. For sure.
Are you glad when the trailer came out and I saw it and I was like, Joe, we're going to see this. We have to.
I think the trailer sold me on my own. I think I was going to see this either way, but I'm glad you wanted to see it too.
I realized what it was and I went, oh my god, we have to go see this. We have to.
Yeah, I definitely like that you had a prior connection to it, coming from a different perspective here. You're a book guy, I'm watching the movie, so... Yeah, so a book liker watched it and a movie liker watched it, and we both liked it. What do you know? No whining about the book was better. But yes, there was that.
I think I'm a little different than the average book reader, though, because yes, technically the book was better, but I understand that you need to trim things to make it into a movie. I guess maybe that's because we make films that it's like...
Yep.
I don't know. I have an easier time wrapping my head around it to be like, yeah, you can't do all that. That doesn't work. That doesn't translate very well into a movie.
Yes.
You have to make some sacrifices, and
you know what going to a visual medium is like, and also I think you just kind of have a good understanding of what, like, okay, I'm just watching this as a movie. I can bring my biases into this, but let's see if it works as a movie.
But
you can kind of compartmentalize.
Going the other way too is there are some things in the movie that are fresh and unique that could only be performed in the movie. Like there was the one joke where he's like, wait, I hope it's not a bomb when the thing's like floating towards him.
Yeah,
it doesn't work as well. Like, I don't particularly remember if that was in the book at all.
This slow-moving projectile is just going towards his ship.
Long enough that he's got thought process, and then he's like, wait, is it a bomb? Oh, I hope it's not a bomb. Like, that wouldn't work in a novel version.
And then it just goes, what-ting? Oh, okay. And then he tries it again.
He's got to catch it.
Oh, maybe it's a message. I should probably.
Something about the music restarting when the second one comes. Like, it was just that whole section was amusing to me.
But, or like he's trying to move the Hail Mary and the ship keeps moving with it, staying in tandem. Yeah. And I liked how that was totally silent as well. Where he's like, he shoot out to space and the ship just moves too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great visual storytelling.
No, and there's some of that stuff that doesn't come from the book. And you can't do that in a book. It doesn't work the same way. So there's benefits and drawbacks to both mediums, but you have to accept that the medium is the medium. You can only do so much. Mm-hmm. And translating between mediums doesn't always work. But in this case, they did a pretty darn good job of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an intangible thing of what makes a good adaptation. But you kind of just know in your gut, okay, they did this one as well as they could.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're like, no, they could have done better. But in this case, it works.
If you're for a movie, I mean, if they were like, yeah, we're going to make an 8-part Netflix series, limited series of it instead. And you're like, okay, you've got 8 hours. All right. Yes. I could see you doing more of what the book had at the pace the book did it. But does it need to be that long?
Well, I think that's why something like 3-Body Problem, like you said, is a bit more egregious because they had more time and they still missed the point.
They had more time and they still ripped it to pieces.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, anyway, that's Project Hail Mary. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at jchurchtpm.
And you can find me on Instagram at ThoughtPlaneMedia. Also check out thoughtplane.ca for everything for free. Articles, podcasts, head-to-head. Check out head-to-head. Those are finally coming out after all this time. So, yeah, that's this week's close-up. Till next time.
See ya.
Oh, by the way, I give Project Mary a thumbs up. A joke for our visual audience.